Now, earlier this week, many of you will know that we received a letter coming from President Trump of the US imposing 30% of tariffs into South Africa, saying that we must accept that because if we increase tariffs onto the, of course, goods coming from the US, those tariffs that we increase with are going to be added to the 30% that we got, meaning that if we are saying we are adding a reciprocal 30% of tariffs into the US is automatically adding another 30% on top of the 30% that they already gave to us, which is something that is not good. Tariffs makes people lose jobs. Tariffs make companies close down because the companies that were exporting a lot of stuff into the US now are going to end up not exporting anything because their products will be so expensive in a way that they won't be in demand anymore. Steel companies, farming companies and all that, because even AGOA apparently it's going to, chances are it might be also be cancelled. That's what the analysts are saying, to say that in September, which is the due date for AGOA, we might actually see AGOA not continuing, which is something that is not good to South Africa and also to the United States of America. I mean, we saw President Trump also hosting some of the top African leaders trying to talk about minerals and seek other opportunities, which therefore simply means that, again, that meeting might be a sign to say that AGOA might not be renewed, but anyways, we will survive, man. I don't think it's the end of the world. Yes, the US market is very important to South Africa, but it is not the end of the world. We will survive. We will win. At the end of the day, there will be other partners that will come that will want to do business with us. Something very important is that it's not us that received that letter. There are also other countries that received the letters. There are also other countries that are still going to receive letters from the US stating that they are getting a tariff increase or a tariff hike. The countries that I've seen that have really received the minimum tariff hike is European countries, which I think most of them got like 10% of tariff hike, which this tariff hike, you know that it's an additional to the existing 10% that President Trump implemented beginning of April, right? I mean, our president has responded to this. President Ramaphosa has responded to this to say that 30% is not really based on facts or based on what is really happening, and they would want, or he would want the US to really relook at this thing and respond to what was submitted by South Africa around May of the proposals and everything. Apparently the negotiators in South Africa, based on an article I read from Business Tech this morning, they were saying negotiators of trade in South Africa were expecting at least a 10% of tariff hike, and that was on their side a worst case scenario. But now that Trump gave them or hit us with 30%, they are hoping that he can readjust to the 10%, which was their worst case scenario. 10% has become the best solution. This is what the article said from Business Tech. But all in all, this is not good. This will harm our economy. US is the strongest economy in the world, and if US is playing like this, you can imagine the harm that it will bring to the economy. But themselves also, US itself also, it's not going to be immune from this. You will know that basic economics, if the country's goods are too much higher than the demand, the supply, if it's higher than the demand, prices will go up. By the way, I've seen some of you guys commenting on the videos that I do, saying that I'm probably an economist, a student, right? Which I'm not. I'm just a civil engineer who's really interested about the markets, right? Which is why I follow this kind of news. So whatever I share here are just my opinions. I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just researching. I'm just fascinated and interested onto this kind of news, which is what leads me into going to read and research myself on some of these things so that I can come and give you the content. But knowing that some of you guys are thinking that I'm an economist who probably was just an average economist, it gives me the confidence to do more, right? Because I'm just a civil engineer, but covering this kind of content. So that gives me the confidence to want to do more, because it shows that even if you are not, you did not study anything, you can be able to learn it and be able to work or to implement to start a business, which is something that it's very, very good. It does not take you to be an expert to start learning about the financial market or the global markets, how they operate, how some of these things, inflation, interest rates, have an impact into our economies. The tariffs that we are talking about onto this video, how they have an impact into our economies, right? So yeah, man, back to the video. I am not that happy at all seeing the 30% also coming from the US, because look, our president together with his team went down to the US to try to negotiate with the president of the United States, Donald Trump, to tell him that the white genocide that was being portrayed, that it's happening in South Africa, it's not the truth, right? It's not a true reflection of what is happening, and therefore it's something that the president would request that it becomes business as usual. It takes me some time to make videos like this, and all I ask from you is to give it a thumbs up, man. And yeah, let's wait, let's see what transpires. Hopefully things get better for South Africa. Hopefully we get to see the relationship between us and the US being much better. I'll see you on the next one. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that at least you get to be notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. That is all from me, and God bless you.